Mr. Lu, why my wife and I are working so hard is we want to save enough money to buy each of my children a house so that they have an easier life next time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, have you heard this kind of thing before? I do, and I hear it quite often what parents want to do for their children. And today I think it's important for me to share with everybody what my perspective is of helping children financially. And this is something that you may not like to hear, but I'm going to say anyway. So, today's topic, the title is called Helping Children Financially. And it's not a topic about how to make children millionaires or multi-millionaires. That I've talked before. But today it's about how much should we give our children? What's our responsibility as parents? And how do we make children successful financially? And I think this is something I want to share from my life. This is a very individual topic. Each family, each parent, each husband and wife, each father and mother have their own practices, have their own beliefs, and these beliefs and culture are shaped by their upbringing and what they see in life. I would say this has no right or wrong. Okay, so I don't want to impose my views on your view. So I would like to share some of our practice and some of our beliefs to you, and you can adapt it into your family. I need to say this categorically clear that when I was young, I also received help from my parents. And that's something very important that I would like to stress, and I like to give thanks to my parents. One of them has passed away, but my dad is still around. Without his help, I'm not going to be the person I am today. And I remember that when I first bought my first house, he helped me. And when I was in financial trouble, during the Asia financial crisis, he bailed me out. My dad, it was a primary school teacher, so he is not a high income earner. His highest pay, I recall, before he retired many years ago, decades ago, was $3,400. So even that, he's able to help me, and I truly appreciate that. And that sets the tone also of how I should help my own children. So I think first we need to spell out what I think is a parental obligation. Without a say, everybody knows that, right? You need to educate your children and you need to provide upbringing for them up to university. I think this is an obligation. This is not a privilege that the children exist. You want to give birth to your children, please help them progress in life all the way to university. There's one small caveat. For boys, going into national service, I don't see why you should ask your parents for allowance. And I don't see why parents should give their children allowance when they are in national service. I don't give my son any allowance once he starts in the national service. Once he ends his national service, about to go to work, that can start again. But national service, they have their own pay. They get very good food and allowance and lodgings from the army and from the SAF. I think that should be enough for them. Now that my children are all in university or going to university in the case of Ben, our philosophy has always been they receive allowance, but they must work for it. They reach a stage of their life where they can handle studies and part-time work. So I make them work for their allowance. So there's no such thing as just giving you allowance just because you're my children. You have to work for it, right? So both Kate and Emily has been working for Premium More on a part-time basis. Kate does a lot of live streaming, and at one point in time, she even took a leave of absence for 6 months to help us in Europe as well. Emily does a lot of support work and admin work, and those work will intensify during their holidays. Benjamin, since he left NS, he has been working for me in my 1965 and fund management work. You will see a lot of the slides and all these are done by himself and another intern as well. So they are all working. In exchange, I give them an allowance. They should not be thinking that that money fall from the heaven and from the parents. Now, in terms of CPF, I do give them a sizable, handsome sum in their special account when they are young. To be precise, I give them each 60,000 when they are young, much younger. And the idea is that 60,000 compounds at 5% return. So the compounding power of 5% is very significant. And this is somewhat a parental gift a parental blessing, and the 5% will compound to some amazing number when they retire. And this will give them a head start. Some of you might say, Mr. Lu, why not fill up the SA to the full, right? No right or wrong in this. Number one is a very big sum of money, and number two is I don't see why I need to offload some of their struggles in life so that they will know that they have to fight for their own thing. If I fill it up to full, they don't have any more to fill up themselves. Then I take away some of all this impetus to work and to reward themselves as well. Now, housing is a very sensitive topic. I have a lot of 1865 community members that wrote to me and said they want to buy a house for their children. Literally buy a house, a condo, right? So they use their children's name to buy a condo, partly for themselves, partly for the kid as well. Or buy when the children buy a HDB flat, they actually almost pay up to full for the children and things like that. But most of these are surrounding the concept of condo. My thought is this, and this one has no right or wrong. Okay, I think it's utter nonsense in my family that my children should expect their parents to give them a house. Utter nonsense, right? Because I want them to have the drive and the hardship of working for themselves, achieving life goals for themselves. And if I were to do that, it would take away a lot of effort, a lot of meaning, a lot of muscle building that they need. And if you take away the goal of buying a house from them, that I think remove a lot of drive in their life. I think this is a big mistake that me and my wife doesn't want to make. So for housing, we are prepared to give a one-time ang pao to help with their housing deposit or renovation. And in all fairness, when I was young, I had the help from my parents as well, right? In this aspect, just the deposit, and to be frank, now this deposit is actually quite little. I think Kate didn't even need our help for deposit. Nowadays, the deposit amount is for university going student is only 5% of the house or something like that. It's a very small number. But nevertheless, we are prepared to help in this aspect. Now, I think it's a bit of parental obligation. Beyond that, they have to go fight for their own lives. Now, this is something I'm prepared to be very generous. Okay, and this is just Mr. Lu, right? I'm prepared to consider a big baby bonus because I love grandchildren, and I'm prepared to incentivize them generously for childbearing. Now, it is important to note that nowadays, young folks, even at our generation, don't want kids, don't want many kids. Well, I think this is something I love a lot. I love grandchildren. I love babies. I just love them. And if it takes for me to incentivize them with money, love, and concern, care, I'm prepared to do that, right? I don't know about you guys, right? I'm really prepared to do that. I just love it. Now, some of you might be wondering, Mr. Lu, you have some companies and things like that. I welcome my children to join my companies, but it's not obligatory, right? I don't need to insist that they must join me, take over the companies and things like that. I think what is more important to help them is to help them pursue their life passions. And our job is really to help them identify life passions and nudge them towards that direction. Now, it'll be a bonus if they come to my company, but I think I don't think they need to. They just need to find where their passions are. I'll be happy to join me, but I think what is more important is for them to decide what they want in their life, and I'll encourage them and mentor them if necessary. So this is a nice segue to my next topic, which is what I do give a lot. So above, some of you might say that, most of the case, Mr. You seems quite niao relative to some other parents. And I must admit, I'm a very big believer that, that you should not give too much and you cannot give too little. I think there's a Goldilocks just nice point. But there's a few things that I do give a lot and prepare to give a lot moving forward. Number one is mentorship, parental mentorship. sharing of my life experience like as if they're attending an MBA class. This I do a lot, right? I share with them my successes, my failures, my life and business encounters, right? I've a lot of them to share. What have I done right? What have I done wrong in life? In my investments, what are the trip and falls I've made? And when I encounter people, I cannot cheated, and meet nasty people, nasty customers, nasty people where I find angels whatsoever, all these life experience I share them as much as I can, like an MBA class. I do a lot of these when they were much younger. As they grow older, they start to experience life themselves, right? And every time I come back overseas, we share a lot of all this experience with them. And I think this one, they will benefit a lot from it. And I do encourage parents to share your life, your trip and falls, with your children. Even though you may not be a businessman like me, you have lots of experience to share with your children. The only thing I'd like to give advice is share them in a very humble, sharing way, because a lot of kids just doesn't like to listen to their parents. I notice. This is where salesmanship is important. A good teacher is important. You need to make the story exciting, and I think children do listen to me a lot in this area. Another thing I do a lot is I bring them to a lot of business type meetings, and I try to look for whenever I encounter or have a chance to meet very interesting people, I do bring some children along. May not be always all three children, depending on their time availability and so on. I try to bring them along to meet all these people, right? So for example, I'll bring I have a very interesting encounter with, let's say, a businessman. I'll bring some of my children along. We have dinners or lunches, and this businessman will share their business experience. I'll share and let the children see how businesses are done. Let the children also tap the business know-how and experience of these people. I think that we have a wonderful encounter when I have a chance to interview Mr. Ng Kok Song, right, the presidential candidate. And I have a honor of bringing Benjamin there as well. There's some businessmen. I have a chance to bring Kate and Emily there, and so on, right? So it's a very interesting experience that I do a lot. Let them tap the experience of the know-how of other people. We should not make it a coercion. We should make it an inspiration for them. Make it like a privilege, right? So that they want to go. And there's a fine balance between the two. Now, the last point that I give a lot and I encourage every parents to do a lot is be a great cheerleader and be a great safety net for your children. Now, what I mean by that is, number one, do encourage them to have the courage to pursue their life passion. Help them to identify the life passion, right? And this is where you need to tell them, that go after it, right? Please don't ask your children to pursue your life passion that you miss. A lot of parents like to tell their children, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be an engineer or a banker because you want to be one, but you couldn't, right? That's utter nonsense unless your children have a passion for it. Your children are genetically make up maybe different from yours. They are if they are duck, they need to swim in water. If they're chicken, they need to be on land. The last thing one is to put the duck on land and chicken in the water, right? They will flounder. So be a great cheerleader. Be there to support. Cheer for them when they succeed. When they trip and fall. Be a great encourager. Just keep going and after. Just keep telling them they can do it. They can do it. They can do it. And I've got lots of stories and life experience in this, and I see my children doing very well because my wife and I were so encouraging to them and just keep them pushing. Ben, for example, from a very very low base, seems to do very well right now in later in life. And Kate recently is trying to figure out what her life path is and career path is. We tell them, have the courage to go and pursue for sales job and things like that, which most people are very afraid of at a young age, and so on, right? So, on this point, parents need to be safety net for your children. Your children is going to trip and fall in their life, for sure. And when they trip and fall, they may not have the strength or the ability to get up fast enough. Be there to be a shoulder to cry on. Be there to lift them up. Be there to tell them that, there is no failure for young people, right? There's only a bump. There's only a trip and fall. you can still continue the path. Whatever mistakes they made, whatever life hits them, you're there to support them and give them the comfort. Tell them that in the worst case, parents will give you subsistence living. You may not be able to give them luxuries of life. You can give them some subsistence living support and help them. There's always a bedroom in the house. There's always rice and food for you. And you should just go on and go on and go on and never give up, right? So I think parents must play this role. So in a nutshell, I think that we don't want to overdo giving financially, but we also want to recognize that parents have a strong and important role in shaping our children's future. So my philosophy is, number one, not too much and not too little. And number two is be a great mentor and cheerleader and be their safety net. So I don't know what you think, right? There's no right or wrong in this. Happy to hear your views. And let's hear them in the YouTube comments, and maybe also share with me in the 1065 Telegram group. Thank you, and I'll see you in a day or two. Bye-bye.